Hello, my name is Robert Kezaala, an epidemiologist with over 30 years working with the World Health Organization and other agencies around the world in immunization and communicable disease control. Here, I have received a number of questions, frequently asked questions on immunization, which I intend to cover over this session. One question that I received is, what is an epidemiologist? Interesting question, because most people, they know obs and gynae, a physician, but they may not know. Well, an epidemiologist is a public health professional who studies the patterns, causes, and effects of health and disease conditions in populations. They investigate how diseases spread, identify risk factors, and develop strategies to prevent and control outbreaks and to improve health outcomes. So, the likelihood is that what you have seen as Ministry of Health decisions on how to implement are based on epidemiological assessment as to what is the best course of action to control diseases and to improve health outcomes. The second question I have received here, which probably concerns people around the world in the current times, is, are vaccines safe? In principle, vaccines train your immune system to create antibodies just as it does with the exposure to disease. However, because vaccines contain either killed or weakened forms of germs like viruses or bacteria, they do not cause the disease or put you at risk of its complications. The current vaccines, which are licensed either by the World Health Organization or other strong regulatory bodies like the European Medicines Agency or the US Food and Drug Administration, are very, very safe and have contributed a lot to the reduction in disease burden around the world. The third question that we received here is, why do vaccines require booster shots? Because they contain living bacteria or viruses, live attenuated vaccines can provide enduring protection with only 1 or 2 doses. An example of this is like measles vaccine, which is only 1 shot and it is enough for life. By contrast, non-live vaccines typically require a few doses to achieve protection that fades over time, and hence the need for booster doses to restore protection. Another question that we have received here is, do vaccines cause autism? This is an interesting one. The common rumor on autism followed the work of one Andrew Wakefield, a British fraudster and anti-vaccine activist who has been disgraced and is being stricken off the list of physicians in the UK. He was struck off the medical register for serious professional misconduct due to his involvement in fraudulent 1998 article in The Lancet about an autism study that falsely claimed a link between the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine or MMR and autism. So in a nutshell, there's no link between vaccines and autism, and any such rumor is totally false. We have received another question here, interesting one, that what is vaccine shedding? And should I be concerned about vaccine shedding? Vaccine shedding is a form of viral shedding which can occasionally occur following viral infection caused by an attenuated or live vaccine. An example of this is the oral polio vaccine, which can be shed in the stool after vaccination. Illness in others resulting from transmission through this type of viral shedding is rare. The specific use of the term vaccine shedding has recently risen in public attention due to anti-vaccine activists linking it to misinformation related to COVID-19, who erroneously claimed that COVID-19 vaccine can cause individuals to shed coronavirus protein and affect fertility in women who are exposed to them. This is totally false, as the protein generated by the vaccination does not shed, and there is no evidence to suggest that these vaccines cause menstruation or fertility problems. Furthermore, vaccination cannot cause shedding of the COVID-19 virus, since none of the COVID-19 vaccine authorized in use by the strong regulatory authorities like World Health Organization the US Food and Drug Administration, or the European Medicines Agencies, none of them contains live vaccines. That's another interesting question here. Can vaccines turn me into a zombie? The question here I would like to ask such a believer in this rumor is, for example, we have administered billions of doses of COVID-19 vaccines. How many zombies have you come across? Have you encountered any zombies in any of the countries or in any of the places where you travel? In the 18th century, Edward Jenner, who was the pioneer of smallpox, was faced with a similar rumor that said that the use of cowpox material would turn people into cows. Such mutation of human beings into cows has never been observed. Neither have we observed any zombies, and hence it is not true. Vaccines cannot turn you into zombie. The next question here is, do vaccines contain microchips for tracking people? This type of rumor is often associated with vaccination mandates among minority or marginalized populations like migrants. The issue here is the mistrust of authority that manifests as mistrust of the services rendered. Vaccines containing microchips is just not possible as far as the size that would be required for that microchip. And the microchip would require a power source in order to run. I am aware that videos about this theory have been reviewed in TikTok by millions. Other conspiracies have falsely claimed the connection with 5G telephony. All this is false, and if I could say, hogwash. There's another interesting question here. Are there better ways to protect my baby against diseases? This is actually true. There is a lot of methods for protecting one's child or loved ones against diseases. This includes hand washing, regular hand washing after touching or going out or touching material, respiratory hygiene like putting a mask, or coughing by preventing the droplets from spreading, the use of facial masks. Some types of facial masks are very good at protecting, or totally avoiding contact with people who have diseases. Other aspects is good nutrition and good ventilation of housing without crowding. All these are possible ways of preventing disease transmission without vaccination. As an example, epidemiologists know that improvements in housing lead to reduction in tuberculosis transmission in communities. Unfortunately, this often takes a long time and is not cheap to have good housing, well-ventilated good housing for everybody. So if we consider avoiding contact with infected people, imagine if your child going to preschool or to play with others where symptoms may be absent. How will you avoid contact? How will you protect our loved ones? At a few dollars per dose, vaccination is overwhelmingly the most practical means of protecting such diseases where a vaccine for such a disease actually exists. Another question that we have received here, that's why do vaccination rates remain low in some developing countries? Vaccination rates remain low in some developing countries due to a number of factors. One is the cost of the vaccine. Two is logistics and infrastructure for delivering the vaccines, which usually need effective transportation and cold chain. Another is taboos and rumors. A child in the Western world can count on protection from about 14 diseases or 14 vaccines. Some developing countries have much less. Agencies like the World Health Organization, UNICEF, the Global Alliance on Vaccines and Immunization, Gavi, etc., are working to assure collective bargaining to reduce the prices, advocacy on resource allocation and resource mobilization, assuring cold chain and logistics to alleviate the difference in vaccination rates among developing countries. Yet another question that we have received is, my friend does not want her kids to be vaccinated because of the things she has seen on YouTube or social media. What can I say to convince her otherwise? I guess this is a mother. The best approach is not to dismiss your friend's views. It is better to sit down with her and try to get the real bottom of her concerns. Next is to get her to see a professional, for example, her clinician or health worker, to address her real concerns with correct authoritative information and answers to her questions and concerns. Yet another question we have received here is, what role do international organizations play in the global immunization landscape? I would like to explain here that if one looks at any immunization initiative, there are many aspects of vaccine delivery. For example, there's vaccine research, which is upstream, there's vaccine procurement, there's international distribution, there's in-country budgeting, training, distribution, there's the communication element, as well as the actual final giving of the shot in the arm. When you consider that spectrum, no one single agency or body has the presence, all the expertise in all these areas. For example, the Red Cross and the churches may be very good at mobilizing communities. UNICEF is good at negotiating long-term contracts with manufacturers and procurement, which is at very low prices. WHO is good at setting norms and standards, developing protocols for immunization and such. The Global Alliance on Vaccines and Immunization, Gavi, has been good at mobilizing global resources to broadening vaccine availability, particularly in low-income countries. These kinds of different entities may each have a role to play in getting the community fully vaccinated. Whether this be in Minnesota in the US, where the government procures, there are other actors. Or if it is in Visayas in Philippines, if it is Kano in Nigeria, if it is in Goma in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DR Congo, or if it is in Uttar Pradesh in India, to effectively vaccinate their target, there is a need for various actors, and these all collaborate towards the target of making sure that as many people as possible are vaccinated to reduce disease transmission. Another question we have received, interestingly, is what is vaccine equity and how does it impact global health? Vaccine equity refers to an approach where everyone eligible actually has a fair and just opportunity to be vaccinated regardless of their socioeconomic status, race, ethnicity, or geographical location, or any other factors. During the recent COVID-19 pandemic, we saw that many developed countries blocked off millions of doses of vaccines for their populations, when at higher risk population in the third world had none. This is a challenge that is addressed by vaccine equity. The WHO pandemic agreement passed this May 19, 2025, aims to foster a strong collaboration and cooperation among countries, international organizations, civil society, the private sector, to prevent pandemics occurring in the first place and to better respond to a future event. Pharmaceutical manufacturers would play a key role in the equitable and timely access to pandemic-related health products by making available to WHO approximately 20% of their production vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics for the pathogens causing the emergency. The final question that we have received here maybe is, can historical viruses ever come back to infect us? There is no simple answer to this question. The question would be, what are historical viruses? In the history of man, only one virus, that is the one causing smallpox, has ever been eradicated. Some samples have remained kept in maximum security laboratory, level 4 laboratories around the world, very few of them. But if these viruses were to escape, yes, smallpox could re-emerge to infect the non-immune people around the world. On the other hand, there are viruses like measles, which has been stopped, or what we say eliminated, in large parts of the globe, but which continues to circulate in yet other parts of the world. We have seen, as an example, that in this year, 2025, with the falling vaccination rates, there has been a resurgence of measles in the US. Then, there are viruses like Ebola, whose natural reservoir is probably the fruit bat found in the Congo Basin of Africa. Outbreaks have occurred regularly since the virus was first recognized in 1976, but with probably the most known one is the 2014-2016 West African outbreak, being the largest and the most complex to date, which may fit the question of historical virus as this question raises. International agencies like WHO, US CDC, pharmaceutical companies, and the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, the CEPI, are working in partnership across the globe to accelerate the development of vaccines and other biologic countermeasures as against the epidemic and pandemic threats.